Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Gina.
And I'm Evo.
And I'm very excited tonight because we are actually drinking a very special drink for the holidays that my husband so graciously made for us.
Yeah, I finally decided to take a crack at this. I've been wanting to make it for a while. I used to get it from somebody where I used to work, and they would bring it to me every holiday.
Yeah.
And always wanted to make it myself, but never got around to it. So this year I finally did. And the drink that we're talking about is Puerto Rican Coquito.
Yes. And the funny thing is that Evo is not Puerto Rican.
I am not. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I do like making mixed drinks. And so this was one that I've been wanting to take a crack at. And from what I understand, there are many different recipes to Coquito.
Well, we actually drank this the other day and this shit is hitting. Yeah. So let's cheers because I'm excited to drink it.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah. And happy holidays to everyone out there because we are officially 2 days away from Christmas.
Yes, we are.
But if you are Latino, tomorrow is Christmas.
You got that right.
Okay. I don't care what nobody say. Every Latino celebrates Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Well, in some places, the celebration starts like 2 months ago.
2 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a couple month long celebration all the way into January.
A couple months long?
A couple months long. Thank you. Thank you for picking that up.
But I'm referring to Latinos here in the States.
Right. No, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so I have never not celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve. It's just something that is embedded in like my upbringing and my culture. And I feel like almost every other Latino that I have come in contact with throughout my life, they celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. And it's like a throwdown. Like the food, the music, the drinks, all of it is happening on Christmas Eve. And the parents maybe get a little too sauced, and the kids get to open up gifts before 12 o'clock. But because the holiday is upon us, I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about like how kind of we do things culturally as far as like celebrating the holidays. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the show, we're going to be talking about weaponized incompetence, because I know that the two don't sound like they fit together, but I'm going to explain to you how I feel like they do as far as our conversation.
Right.
Not to say that this is how it happens all the time. But like I was saying, growing up, I celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve, and it was something in my house where my mother would be in the kitchen cooking, and real talk, that's if she was there, because I come from a very interesting upbringing, to say the least.
Non-traditional.
Yeah. Definitely there's nothing of tradition there, but I do have some memories of my mother making Christmas Eve dinner, and it was always a ham. And truth be told, I am not a fan of ham.
Was it with the pineapple?
Yes, it had to be with the pineapple. And I think it's so weird, the combination, because it's like ham with pineapple, but then all the other dishes are like straight Hispanic dishes, like arroz con gandules, patele. So then it's like, where does this ham fit in there? Like, why are we not just eating pernil?
There's something about a properly cooked ham with pineapple that just hits different, you know? So I can see that, you know.
I'm glad that you could see it, considering that you are not Puerto Rican and my mother is Puerto Rican. And I feel like that was something that was a staple.
Well, here's the thing. So I you know, in my history of dating, I have been privileged to experience many different Christmas cultures.
I love how you were so treading lightly right now. You're like, I have been privileged.
It's a privilege.
Evo is like, all the chicks that I dated.
You know, so, pineapples or pineapple ham, I don't even know what you call it, was definitely on the menu a few holidays.
Yeah, it's something that was always on the menu. And in addition to that, we were also eating beni, or sometimes like my mom would make like a small chicken, which is honestly like what I preferred. But what I find interesting is that A lot of the things that I grew up doing traditionally, like part of my culture, you know, the coquito, the pení, and the rosogandules, the patele, the dancing, the music, you know, the drinks, the alcohol. I really was specific about the things that I pulled out of my childhood and my upbringing, and then I brought those things over to how we celebrated holidays in our family, because it's very different.
Yeah.
I would say that the one thing that I carried over like easily without like blinking of an eye was the food, minus the ham, because I don't like ham. I don't know what it is about it. I mean, I would always eat it I was one of those kids growing up, like, if my mom did something like that, I would always want to make her feel good.
Yeah.
So I would eat the ham, even though I really didn't like it. And then, I don't know if you're familiar with this, like, putting the cloves in the ham, too.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, you know, I was a good kid. So I would eat the ham, even though I didn't really like it. But true story, I used to get sick a lot on the holidays.
Really?
Yeah, I can't explain to you why, but so many holidays I could think back, Christmas, New Year's, where I was like sick and I didn't feel well. Like I had some sort of like viral something or other where my stomach felt weird or had like a slight fever. I even have on video one Christmas Eve dinner where I'm sitting at the table and I look like I am not well, but I'm really like trying to like be there and be present because it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And because my mother and my dad weren't really like always present around the holidays, or they weren't, you know, present as a whole, I really like tried to immerse myself in those experiences, even though I wasn't feeling well.
You was a true Grinch from the start, wasn't you? As soon as that Christmas holiday came around, you were like,
But listen, real talk, in my old age, have I not blossomed into like the most joyful holiday bitch you ever knew?
The reason I say so is because of how much you love the movie The Grinch.
I fucking love that movie so much. I love the Jim Carrey version, but I also love the original Grinch, the animated version that I'm not exactly sure when it came out, but I remember I remember growing up and watching it as a little kid, and just like his heart that was 2 sizes too small. I identified with that so hard. I was like, a bitch got a black heart and it's 2 sizes.
That's what I'm saying.
Small.
So when the holidays came around, you were like a true Grinch from like a little girl. You'd be like, Christmas.
But how great is it that our daughter just gave us a Christmas card and it said Merry Grinchmas, and I was like,
super cute.
I was like, look at my baby.
Yeah, they made that at school for her.
Yeah, I was like, look at my baby, like unintentionally like carrying on her mother's traditions without even her knowing.
That's pretty cute.
So in our house, one of the things that is like a staple, like I said, is the food. You know, you and I just recently made pateles together, and if anyone doesn't know, if you're not familiar with what pateles are, it's like a combination of a lot of foods or vegetables rather that are very prominent in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico.
Right.
So it is green banana, it is plátano, it is cassava or pumpkin, and then it's yute, right?
Yeah.
Right? Am I pronouncing it right?
I think so. That's how you pronounce it.
It's spelled a Yutia. Yutia. Sorry, I apologize. Potatoes. And I think that's it to make the masa, which is basically the mix. And then from that, we put in chicken, we put in olives, we put in chickpeas, and then it's wrapped in a leaf and then wrapped in wax paper.
And we also season the masa too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. It's a whole process. That shit took me...
It takes a while.
Yeah, it took me an evil 3 hours, and I would love to say that like my husband is very present in the kitchen when these things are going down. And it took us like 3 hours, and then that same day you made the coquito.
Yeah, we were drinking coquito and making pateles. It's always a party when we're in the kitchen.
And of course we had
during the holidays, yeah, for sure.
Of course we had Spanish music in the background playing, all types. But yo, that station was rocking.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good station.
It was great, and it was such a great experience. So those are the type of things that I have carried over from my culture, and as far as like celebrating the holidays. everything else I kind of like left it to the wayside, and I introduced my own kind of traditions, which are when we put up the Christmas tree every year, we have to watch Edward Scissorhands. That is like my
Definitely
thing.
a staple in this house.
It's gotten to the point now where like my kids expect it because they know it's going to happen. And I know traditionally no one's looking at Edward Scissorhands like a Christmas movie, but for me it is a Christmas movie because it takes place, a portion of it takes place during Christmas.
Yeah.
And Edward has a portion of, you know, him doing sculptures out of ice.
Right. During the holidays.
Yeah, during the holidays. And I just find it so beautiful, the story that is told, you know, like the love.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love the part of Edward Scissorhands that has like the music. It's by Danny Elfman, and I feel like it's so Christmas-like. So that is something that we do in our house that definitely didn't come from my childhood at all. But I find it interesting because I feel like, I guess what I can say is that I carried over the parts that I found most valuable to me, most like most memorable. You know, the food and you know, being with family. It was never about the gifts. It was never about like the decorations. It was always about the time spent with family,
which is how it's quote unquote supposed to be.
Supposed to be. But there is a very big, heavy focus on gift giving.
Yeah, we try to make it definitely not about that in our house.
I don't think that's ever really been something. Yeah. We've always limited the gifts to when the kids were little, the boys.
Yeah.
3 gifts.
Right.
One was kind of big. It was like kind of like the one that they always wanted. And then, you know, 2 other gifts were like, you know, a medium-sized one and then a small one. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. And then you and I regularly only exchange, like, if that one gift.
Yeah, I mean, we it's more about just being together and, you know, like as a family and enjoying the holidays. Some gifts, but eating and just quality time.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
But I feel like you and I had very different experiences when it came to Christmas because you didn't live in the States.
Well, so I kind of have 2 different experiences.
Oh, yes.
One not as memorable as the other.
Okay.
So, you know, up until I was 5 years old, I lived here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, right around 4 or 5 years old, that's kind of like when I start having like the most vivid, like the most clear memories that I can think back on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I vaguely remember some holidays being in New York, mm-hmm. At some friends and family's house, you know, in these little tight apartments, you know, packed.
That's how you do it.
Packed, you know, packed to the T. Everybody's like in these, you know, shoulder to shoulder at the table on these chairs, but it was a party and there was love. And, but then I also have memories of us celebrating Christmas in our house, which was in Wayne, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty big house at the time. And so I have memories of us just being there with no family. And so I actually, that's funny now that I think about it. That's when I figured out that Santa wasn't real. Because I remember one.
What you mean, Willis?
Spoiler alert. Sorry. All right. Yeah, one Christmas Eve, I had to like wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I think I was trying to be sneaky because like I had a suspicion.
If I remember correctly, you were a little badass kid.
Well, but see, the thing was like I got sent to bed kind of early. I mean, my brother didn't have to go to bed right away.
Okay.
So usually we go to bed together, kind of right around the same time, not too far apart. But this day was a little off, and so I was making excuses to like you know how kids do. They'll do anything to try to like prolong them going to bed. So I was doing that.
Of course.
And I specifically remember going to my room, laying in bed, and then telling my mom I had to go to the bathroom. So if I walked out of my bedroom, the bathroom was across the hall. And then to the right, if I'm standing in the hallway between my bedroom and the bathroom, to the right were the stairs that went downstairs. It was like a bi-level, and then you can see the living room. Mm-hmm. And then so because the tree and everything was set up in the living room, if I walked across, I could see into the living room and I could potentially see what they were doing. They were setting up the tree. And they were trying to do it right after I went to bed, which is probably been, they should have waited till I went to sleep. And then as I walked by, of course I took a look. My brother's standing in the hallway like this, trying to like block my view. Of course I can see past him. Yeah, Mike tried. He tried so hard. And then I saw my mom walking by with one of my presents, and she hadn't wrapped it yet. I saw the actual present. And so the next morning when I unwrapped it, like I put two and two together, I was like, I saw you carrying this thing. And I'm like,
you were like, ¿Dónde está Santa Claus?
I said after that, the cat was out the bag. And so not too long after that, I ended up going to live in Dominican Republic, where I spent just about 7 years. And man, was that a culture shock.
Yeah.
Big time. But still special and unique in its own way, because the way that Dominicans celebrate Christmas is totally different from the way that they celebrate it over here. And it was like I mentioned earlier, that the celebration starts like a month or two in advance.
Okay.
And it goes all the way into January. I mean, that's something that they love, is those holidays. But it's more about food and the toys. I mean, yes, you can, there are toys and things like that, but it's more about like, on Christmas Eve, getting together, eating a big meal, and then going to church to celebrate what's called the Rooster's Mass.
Okay. Right,
and they call it the Rooster's Mass because supposedly a rooster crowed the night that Jesus was born. That's what they call it. I'm
sorry. That's.
Yep. You can look it up. This is actually a fact.
I
But listen, okay. We can't laugh because they take the religion very seriously.
I am
this
not.
Is a very
it
serious
just sounds
thing.
funny.
It's
sorry.
called the Rooster's Mass.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just sounds funny. I apologize.
Yeah. And then they also make these things called charamicos, which are their version of Christmas trees. They don't have Christmas trees out there like we do over here, where you can just go and chop down a pine tree and put it in your.
Yeah, there's not fir trees just growing all over the yard.
No, definitely not. And so what they do is that they make their own trees out of out of wood, and this is kind of what they look like.
Oh, those are really beautiful. Yeah,
so they make them in all different colors. They make stars, and then they start in specific. The white ones were made to kind of like represent snow, because we know they don't get snow out there.
Oh, wow.
So this is their version of like snowy trees and snowy stars, and they even make reindeers and stuff like that and all types of things. And
that's actually really beautiful. Yeah. I wish that we could like find something like that here. Funny though, didn't I just say something that I thought would be really cool about celebrating Christmas traditionally being Latino and bringing that to the States?
Yes, you did.
I'm not going to say what I thought.
Don't want to let the cat out the bag just yet.
Because,
it might just be a thing.
Yeah, it just might be a thing. But yeah, so, these are quite beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about these and the great thing about celebrating Christmas out there is that a lot of the stuff is not, manufactured the way it is out here. So a lot of things are handmade, and these are all handmade.
Yeah.
Which is another beautiful thing about being out there, because you really learn how to use your hand and how to make things. And then they also have something that they celebrate called Los Angelitos, which is their version of Secret Santa. But they do it for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it's like, you get a group of people and everybody puts their names in a hat, and you draw names, and whoever name you get, that you're their Secret Santa. And then, so every day for 2 weeks, you give them a gift, but they don't know who it is. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you reveal who you are to your Secret Santa. It's just kind of like a...
So you're getting 14 gifts?
Yeah, but they're small little things, nothing big, just kind of like tiny little things.
De cositas.
Yeah, like little tiny, nothing crazy, but it's just it's the point of getting gifts from someone every day for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which kind of, makes you feel special, especially in a place like this where...
it kind of reminds me of Hanukkah.
Kind of, yeah.
Because they give gifts for 7 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, they have like fireworks shows that are crazy. Fireworks are big.
Oh, wow.
During the Christmas holiday. Yeah. I mean, huge. So that's always special. And another thing that is really great is that around between the 20th to the 24th, you have what they like to call Dominican Yorks, which are the Dominicans that come back from the United States.
Oh shit!
And they come bearing gifts.
Oh wow!
Yes, and because it's such a big celebration, you have just this mass of people coming in from the States to come back and be with their family, to bring gifts, to bring money, and it's just such a gift giving and such a family giving and so much love is injected from so many directions into the island that it really creates this beautiful and such a happy time. And I'm sorry, I was looking at my notes for a second. And so those are like some of the things that I remember, that were very fond. I was very fond of when I celebrated Christmas out there, because it was very different from out here.
Yeah. Those traditions sound like a lot of fun.
Yes.
Which is, I feel like here in the States, I feel like we kind of lose that a little bit, because I feel like there's such a focus on like buying shit and like making things perfect. Mm-hmm. And it's part of the reason why like I don't focus on those type of things. Yeah. Our kids, I will say that the one thing that they look forward to primarily when it comes to the holidays is food. Like they're just looking to eat, and they're looking to be around family, and they're looking for my brother to tell crazy ass stories and, crack fucking jokes and shit like that. Or like my dad, to be there and making stupid ass comments, like that's really what our family is looking for when those holidays come around. But what I will say is that I think what's even bigger to Latinos more than Christmas is Three Kings Day. And yes. I don't know why. I don't even celebrate this holiday, but it's embedded in me that my Christmas tree cannot come down until after Three Kings Day. So until after January 6th, that tree is not coming down.
Because that's how you do it.
And I celebrated Three Kings Day a couple different times, but primarily when I lived with my aunt and my uncle. It is more of a religious based festivity. Not to say that Christmas isn't. I just feel like Three Kings Day is really focused on the religious part of it. Mm-hmm. Even though Christmas is supposed to be about the birth of Jesus Christ, even though I feel like we totally missed that. Even though growing up and living with my aunt and my uncle, we went to Christmas Mass.
Right.
So there was definitely like that religion part of it. But I feel like Three Kings Day really, even the way that the gift giving was presented was more religious. And I remember it being the first time that I was exposed to it, because before I went to go live with my aunt and my uncle, I did not really know what Three Kings Day was. Like the household that I grew up in with my mom and my dad, like religion really wasn't a thing. And I remember being told the night before Three Kings Day to put a shoebox underneath my bed with like straw in it that obviously my aunt bought. And when you put the shoebox underneath your bed, when you woke up in the morning, there was three little gifts inside of it. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being like, wow, this is even like a little bit more amazing than Santa Claus. Because you knew that the gifts were coming from your parents or your guardians. They weren't trying to make it seem like that there was these three kings coming from the desert to give you gifts. They were just honoring the tradition and the scriptures that were in the Bible. But I remember the gifts being, they were small. They weren't big. They were, things that I guess almost had more meaning to them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel like the focusing on it religion-wise was even a little bit more intense than Christmas, because Christmas, you got the gifts that you wanted. You got your game systems, your Barbies, right. Whatever your Easy Bake Oven, whatever the fuck it is. But on Three Kings Day, you got these small little gifts, and I almost kind of feel like I treasured them more. So celebrating Three Kings Day for me is embedded in me. But what I find so interesting about Three Kings Day is that how the whole story takes place, that that the birth of Jesus happened, and then these three kings followed the star in the east without really knowing. They just like knew that the star meant that Jesus was born, and they were going to follow this star, and then they were going to come and give gifts to this child that was going to be the new king of the Jews. And the reason why I find it like interesting is because, like, how can I put this? It's more about like the mythical aspect of it, right. You know, that they followed this star.
Well, and in those times, you know, they it was that's what people did. You know, they looked to the skies for direction and messages and things like that, and you know, everything was interpreted, you know, with what the skies had to say about it and the stars.
I think when I think about it, it sounds more realistic to me than some fucking jolly white guy delivering gifts.
Well, Saint Nick.
Through a chimney. Because I don't know about you, I grew up in an apartment. Where that mofo coming in?
Oh, he came in through your window. For sure. And he ate your cookies.
So that's why I feel like Three Kings to me made more sense. I was like, okay, I know that ain't no dudes coming to my house. I know that my parents are giving me this, or my guardians are giving me this. So like there was like more realism in it.
If you're gonna believe in something, you were gonna believe in that, right?
Yeah.
Over some big fat white guy coming in through your window.
Because I am Puerto Rican, it's huge celebration in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Like Three Kings Day is like kind of like how, you know,
El Día de los Reyes.
Is celebrated like how they do things in Dominican Republic. You know, there are fireworks, there are festivals, there are things that are handmade. And I just feel like I don't celebrate that holiday. I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't do that tradition with our children. I don't, you know, do the gift giving, but you damn well know that that tree is not coming down until after January 6th. And I would love to know if there's any other Latinos that listen to us or watch us and do the same, but they don't celebrate the holiday. Their tree just stays up.
Yeah, I just feel like some people just use it as an excuse to not take their tree down. I mean, you know what? I just feel like it. You know, it looks so good. You know,
yeah, you love the tree.
I kind of wish we could just leave it up all year round.
No, absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not. And for anyone wondering, right now, Evo's off camera pouring us some more Coquito. Thank you so much. Right, if you're wondering why he's like off camera right now. But so I said earlier in the show that we were going to talk about weaponized incompetence and like how the fuck does that fit into the tradition of Christmas. And the reason why I thought it would be interesting to talk about this is because during the holidays.
Well, why don't you let the viewers and listeners know what weaponized incompetence actually is, so that way when you describe it and how it ties in.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. During the holidays, men and women, husband and wives, partners, are doing a lot. A lot is going on in the house.
Yeah.
I just wonder who's doing what and how these responsibilities are being divvied up. Because I can tell you that I was not necessarily familiar with this term weaponized incompetence, because I do feel like it is a new term and it's all over social media. But when you basically take away the wording, what it basically means is that one of the partners, unfortunately primarily the man, is doing something, a task or a responsibility in the household at such a poor level that the other partner will then choose to do one of two things: either give them some sort of aid of how to complete it, like a list. They will literally give them a step-by-step, or the partner will choose to never again ask their spouse to help them. And then what winds up happening, that pushes the responsibility back on the other partner. And the reason why it's called weaponized incompetence is because the other partner that is doing the task or the responsibility very poorly is doing it purposely, because they're able. It just takes time to maybe learn certain things, but they're choosing to do it poorly so that they know that their partner will be reluctant to ever ask them again, thus putting the responsibility more on the man or the woman, whoever is the choosing to be incompetent. So that being said, the reason why I thought about that when it comes to the holidays is because when you and I first started dating, when the holidays came around, I found myself doing a lot of the shopping when it came to gift giving. Mm-hmm. I would shop for your family. I would shop for if you needed me to get something for, like, if you were giving something to like your vendors or something like that for your job, I was the one doing that. But I did it very willingly. And then what I found was it became very stressful.
Yeah, because at the beginning you just took care of it, and then throughout, as the years went on, it was like, okay, holidays coming around, Gina got this,
Yes.
And I mean, I just kind of like went with what we were doing from the beginning.
And I almost kind of feel like it was to the fault of me that that became the dynamic between you and I, because I started off being like, I got it, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And that was because I was a control freak and I needed things to be done a certain way. I needed things to be done in a way where I felt like they were right, but they were really right in the way Gina wanted it to be. And I had a very hard time relinquishing that sort of, I guess, power, you can say.
Control.
Yeah, control, power. So then that dynamic kind of developed. And then I found myself really frustrated, and I basically shot myself in the foot because I became frustrated in that dynamic because then I felt like I was doing all the work. And then it just became like a whole, okay, I need to let go and let my husband do what it is that needs to be done for the holidays, whether it be gift giving, whether it be cooking, whether it be decorating, whatever it is. I need to let him do it the way Evil's going to do it. And that was so hard for me because it was more about me coming to terms with my own feelings rather being accepting to the way you did things.
Right.
And I feel like once I did that, I hit the ground running and I was just like, we're good. So now when it comes to holidays, birthdays, any sort of festivities that like maybe one of us has to buy a gift, or there has to be decorating, or or we're hosting an event, you and I really just like, we like bounce off of each other. There's no, oh, you're doing this and then I'll come check with you like what needs to be done. Right. If anything, we're bouncing ideas off of each other where you're just like, okay, so I did this, what do you want to do next? Like, just to keep the system flowing.
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to know, it was important for me to know that, when I did these things, that as long as I put in my best effort into doing these things, you would be appreciative of those. You learned how to be appreciative that, you were able to recognize, okay, this is probably not exactly how I would have did it, but I do see the effort. It's just the way he does it, and I need to, appreciate that and, and be okay with that. And once we sunk into that dynamic, things kind of like really took on a more easier going flow. In other words, you were a tolerant of my fuck up.
But there were times, Eva, that you really surprised me, and know that.
I mean, listen, I got my tricks up my sleeves. It's not a big bag of tricks, but it's got some in there.
But I will say that there are things that you and I do that I would consider a specialty. There are things that you do that I love the way you do it, and I will ask for you to do that only. And I won't do it, but if I can, I will assist. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a really good way of not abusing your partner's competence, and their ability or their talent in something. Mm-hmm. But what tends to happen with weaponized incompetence, even though I know that you have a little discrepancy with the word weaponized. Yeah,
I don't like the way that they I don't like the way that they phrase this. I don't like the terminology, because I just feel like that I get the whole purposely not doing something good or a task that you've been given so that task is not assigned to you anymore in the future.
Yeah.
And and I get that people will be afraid of doing a good job on these tasks because they're afraid that they're going to be assigned more things, but to say that it's
weaponized,
a weapon, I don't know. I just feel like that wasn't well thought out. And so I have a problem with excuse me. Here we go again with I have a problem with the way that's worded.
I would agree with you. I think weapon it seems a little harsh, but the incompetence part to me is
it's dead on.
It's dead on.
Yeah.
Because I myself have witnessed this occur between people in relationships. I have seen men ask their wives or their partners to do something, and they will follow up that request with, because you do it better than me.
Yeah.
Or because she's good at it. But I know it's not because they really value the way that person does something, like how I just said to you. It's they're doing it because they don't want to fucking do it.
I mean, yeah, there's that. And there is an underlying issue where that person is really projecting their laziness onto the other person is really what's going on, because at the root of it, I think that's really what it is. It's just a person that's very lazy and doesn't like doing many things. And so when they're assigned to do something, they do it in a very lazy way. Don't put a lot of thought and effort into it because they don't want to do it to begin with. They half-ass it, and they just, kind of project it back to the person that assigned it to them to begin with.
I think in addition to being lazy, that's also a person that's very selfish.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And the reason why I say that the person is very selfish is because I don't think it's always. I do think laziness is part of it, but I think that you and I have watched, for example, our children say that they're not good at something, but then we'll say to them, but I've watched you do this thing that you care about so well. So it's this level of selfishness that they'll execute something really well that they care about. But when it's them having to care about their partner and their partner's needs,
right,
they don't care. And one of the best, I think one of the conversations that's happening a lot on social media as far as weaponized incompetence is child rearing. So when two people decide to have a child, one of the partners, again, primarily the male, is doing things that is amplifying their incompetence. And I guess the reason why it's considered weaponized is because you know that they are very well competent. So one of the examples that I saw was the husband saying to the wife, yeah, I'll watch the baby. Go ahead and take a shower. And then the wife comes out of the shower because she hears the baby crying because the husband has fell asleep on the couch and is not watching the child. That is a perfect example of doing something so poorly that never again is your wife going to feel your wife is never going to feel confident to leave you with the child because in fear of you fucking falling asleep. And then that also puts the child in harm's way.
Yeah.
So that's going to make the wife never want to do that again. I can't tell you how many times women will say things like, I brought the baby in the bathroom with me, in the car seat or the bouncy seat or whatever it is, so that I could watch the baby while I'm showering, while they have a husband at home that is doing, I don't know what the fuck it is that they're doing, but they do it because it's easier.
Yeah.
It makes the dynamic easier. Well, in actuality, you're like not even getting the time to wash your ass in fucking peace.
Well, I mean, so you ever wonder why these people are like this?
That's a good question. That's actually I had a few ideas as to why these things happen.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about that.
I wrote a song about it. Like to hear it go.
Here we go.
So one of the things I said to you earlier was, I wonder if there is some sort of trade-off.
Okay.
And what I mean by trade-off is, are the women in this dynamic allowing their husbands to be incompetent because in turn they're receiving something by letting the men do, I guess, less.
Okay.
So I guess the best example I have of that is a woman taking care of the child, cleaning the house, even though maybe she may work. But then once a week, the husband takes her out to dinner, buys her something nice. That's like, or, you know, takes her somewhere or does something for her, maybe on a more lavish level. And that's the trade-off. She will be doing all of that to then get that little bit of, I guess, like materialistic joy. So sometimes I think that could be one of the reasons.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
And then the other one that I immediately thought about is that this is the way a lot of these people are raised. They come from households where the men watch their mothers be these women.
That's exactly where I was going with this.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be men. You know, I mean, there are women that are incompetent in ways where, you know, everything is given to them as a child. You know, they're not, you know, taught to be like a team player per se. You know, they're not assigned things as a kid, responsibilities, and taught to, like, you know, to provide at the minimum, provide for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's important, you know, in raising a child, to show them how to do for themselves and care for themselves and provide for them. I mean, how are you going to provide anything to somebody else if at the core you can't provide these things for yourself? You know, so when you have a lot of these households that, like you said, you know, traditionally the man is doing one thing, the woman is doing another. And traditionally those things that the women are doing are taking care of the household responsibilities. So fast forward, once, you know, the child that's in that house that has the traditional upbringing where the man is out working or providing the income or whatever, the financial stability for the family, and the wife is at home working, the children that grow up in that household see that dynamic. And when they get older and they enter the relationship status, there you have now where that person is almost what else are they supposed to expect?
Yeah.
You know, if, you know, when it comes to these things, if they go dig into their bag of tricks, there's nothing there. They haven't been equipped with anything.
Yeah.
You know, so then therefore, you know, and then maybe, like, for example, let's just say I grew up in a traditional household and you didn't. You know, you were taught to cook and to clean, and you were taught to, like, you know, do craft things and be creative and all these things that, you know, are important to have. And I wasn't. You know, I had a maid growing up, you know. I went to private school, you know, like these things, you know, where I didn't have to fend for myself, or everything was just given to me, you know. So fast forward, you know, 20 years, 25 years into my life, we meet, and then, you know, our relationship starts to unfold. You're starting to realize that when it comes to, like, tasks that we do together as a couple, I'm not that great. And then I'm seeing how that, you know, you're strong at that. So can you see how that dynamic would unfold, where all of a sudden I'm leaning on you in these times to do these things because you just do them so much better? And it's not because, I mean, yes, there is a level of incompetence to it, but I mean, as a child, I wasn't given these things. You know, they weren't embedded in me as a child. And so far I grew up lacking them.
An interesting part of that, I think, is I think you and I were talking about this, like, before the show, and I said to you that when these sort of things happen, it's possible that the couple, prior to having children, there may very well may be more caring for the husband when there's no children. So maybe he's getting his laundry done.
Yeah.
Maybe he's getting food cooked for him more, or, you know, whatever it is, or vice versa. You know, maybe the wife maybe works more and the husband is cleaning the house. So they're able to do things for each other more because there's no presence of children. So I feel like, because when I thought about it, I was like, why are they not, like, noticing these behaviors in their partner before? And then they have children, and now it's a fucking problem. And I think it's because prior to having children, you don't even know how these things are going to play out, because you're able to give more care to your partner.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're just focusing on one person.
And then when a child comes into play, it's like, fuck, this guy or girl doesn't even know how to do laundry because I've been doing it, and you've always been okay with that.
Right.
Because
it's just one person.
It's just one person.
Yeah, I mean, and you're doing yours, so it's very easy for you to do theirs, and you want to be nice, and you're kind of like just trying to show your best side of yourself and all that good stuff. And what it's doing is it's setting up, it's like a recipe for disaster later on down the road.
That's exactly what it is. And I think what's interesting, the term weaponized incompetence kind of rolls off the back of this other term called second shift, where women who work full-time jobs will come home to a second shift where they have to take care of the children and take care of the household, even though both of the parents are working.
Well, I mean, I would like to think that in this society nowadays that it couldn't happen both ways. There are men that potentially come home to a second shift as well.
I would agree, but I would think that it's on a smaller scale, because the term weaponized incompetence is coming from the conversation of women talking about their husbands.
No, I get it. That's why I said potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that right there in itself says it's a small chance portion.
Yeah.
I don't want you to start
evil talking for the men.
Please, yeah, I'm trying. I don't want.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, because you know what, this is a sensitive subject, and yes, it's a sensitive subject in a way where this is heavily geared towards men, and I want to say this in the best way possible, but there is a portion of it where it's not completely their fault. And when I say it, understand the key word where I said there's a portion of it that it's not completely their fault, and it reflects back to what we just spoke about, where it's something that technically should be instilled in the household when they're growing up. So if they're raised this way with this expectation that in a relationship, what they saw growing up, that the mother or the father, one or the other, is providing all of these things in the relationship, then when it comes to acting on their own relationship, the only experience that they have to reflect back on is the one that they saw growing up.
Or when I think about that, I feel like it could actually be, the dynamic can be a little different. And what I mean by that is like, what if one of the parents was absent in the household? There are a lot of children, boys and girls, being raised by single mothers where there is not a father present. So these kids are being brought up watching their mother do everything. Yeah. They're cooking, they're working, they're cleaning, they're child rearing, they're helping with homework, they're running them to their fucking extracurricular activities. They watch the women do everything. So do I think that the expectation of them entering a relationship with a woman or a man after that is that person could work and fucking do it all? I feel like sometimes that bar is set really high.
Well, I mean, you also have to take into consideration that in that dynamic, even in that single parent household, or more specifically into what you were saying, the single mother household, you have a mother like that is busting her ass, working, cleaning, and at the core still trying to be a good mother and doing probably more than she should be doing for her child when as far as like cooking and cleaning, and not, giving this child responsibilities, maybe with almost even like living with guilt that the other parent is not there. So overcompensating and really taking a lot of the responsibilities onto themselves to ease and make a better life for the child. Yeah. And and actually doing them a disservice by not giving them a little bit of tough love, and giving them these responsibilities that they're going to use as tools later on in the future that are going to strengthen their relationship with the person that they're with down the road. Yeah. So even in that dynamic, there's certain situations where it's not entirely what we're speaking about here, the man's fault.
I would agree.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. But just going back to what you were saying, I say it's a sensitive topic because this is not a lot of things that people realize. They just, when they think of weaponized incompetence, they just think of just idiotic men who just refuse to learn or refuse to take initiative, and they're just, set in their ways, I guess.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, I know men that it is literally that. They watch their mothers do it all. And then they find, I know there's like a saying, like, you wind up marrying your parents.
Yes.
Jokingly, I feel like, you and I joke about this all the time. You're a lot like my father. In ways.
Yo, ain't joke.
In ways that are the best parts of my father.
Thank
you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I definitely think that you possess those things, So I know firsthand, I've seen men marry women that are just like their mothers. And sometimes they marry them for the same motherly things that they received from their mother. And what I mean by that is the way that they were cared for.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it firsthand where a man will say something like, "Oh, babe, where's such and such thing?" And the wife will know automatically. And I always find that so interesting because I'm like, this is your thing. Why is it that I should know where it is? Maybe on occasion you can ask me. Because we live in the same household. I may have come across it. But when I tell you I've seen that behavior repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
From men asking their wives where something is, how can they do something, where can they locate something, where can they go to get something, and the wife will know this stuff at a drop of a dime. Let me tell you how stressful that can be on the woman, because now here you are, not only having to remember your own shit, potentially your children's shit, you got to remember where this guy left his fucking keys.
Well, again, I feel like that goes back to growing up. The mother was cleaning the house,
I know, that's
organizing, putting things away.
Yeah.
If she saw something laid out, she would take it and put it where it belonged. So that's where that behavior starts. And
yes.
And it carries on. And so, like, not to say that, people should be able to self-reflect enough to know that along their life, that this behavior is not something that is, good to have.
Yeah.
I myself am guilty of being incompetent in many ways. But because I'm very self-aware of who I am and I do a lot of self-reflection,
mm-hmm.
I'm quick to notice that, these things, you're not comfortable with, and so I try to, change those things about me
mm-hmm.
and evolve and become a better person. And I think that, that's what it's lacking in a lot of these situations where people are very stuck in their ways and are not looking to evolve and are not looking, maybe even, there's just those quote unquote, stereotypical people where they peak at a certain point in their life and
mm-hmm.
then that's just who they are. And so, that's a big problem, because then you have people that are they're being told these things about themselves. Like a guy is being told about himself, like, hey, listen, this thing that you do, you can do it a little bit better. If you did it this way, it would probably, the result would be better. And just because that person doesn't want to change or improve or do more work, they just stay the same, and it just becomes an ongoing problem.
I'm surprised that you say that you're incompetent in many ways.
I said I can be incompetent. Did I say many? I meant to say in some ways. Not many. I don't feel like I'm many. Maybe I missaid that. But I'm not.
Maybe I misheard you.
Yeah,
but I'm surprised that you said that to begin with.
By no way do I claim to be perfect. And we spoke about this earlier. And I feel that everybody's incompetent in their own way.
Correct.
And so these are just moments where I've realized that in that particular situation, I don't possess the skill needed to
mm-hmm.
accomplish what it is that I'm trying to do. And I should learn. I should definitely learn how to do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when these things come to, when these are things that come to, we do equally, because I know that if I do something half-ass and it's something that we do together, you're going to feel it,
mm-hmm.
And I'm not comfortable with putting that situation on you. I'm not comfortable with making you feel uncomfortable with something that I could potentially do better.
Yeah, but like you said, that comes with a lot of self-reflection.
Exactly. Yeah. So because I self-reflect a lot, and I'm always looking to like see where I'm wrong. I'm always willing to listen to something that I've done wrong through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, I can say that. I can speak directly to that. I feel like you are very open to criticism.
Yes.
Like
I look for it.
Yeah, criticism, whether it be negative or positive. I think that is something about you that really helps our relationship because I'm very vocal.
Yeah. I just think listen, I just see it as a great opportunity to improve something that I don't really see because, people don't realize that, when you're looking at something, you're always projecting outwards.
Yeah.
Very little, very little is one projecting their own image back at themselves because they're so occupied with the images around them.
Yeah. So
I think it's important to be open-minded about the images of yourself that are coming from outside sources directed at you. I see that as a golden opportunity, but not everybody sees it that way. People get very defensive.
Yes, but I do want to make a point to say that you need to be careful where that criticism is coming from.
Well, I only take it from the people that I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just want to make a point to say that
let's not get it twisted. I'm not sitting there just like if somebody says I'm walking down the street and somebody says, "Hey, you're an asshole." Really? Am I? I didn't know that. Yeah. Tell me more. No. We're not doing that. Yeah. But from the people that mean a lot to me, such as yourself, family members, and things like that, if I'm being told something about myself, like these people know me. Yeah. Right. So it's because from the people that know me. If you don't know me and you say something about me, that shit is just gonna go. Like I mean, I'm gonna be like the Matrix. It's just I'm literally gonna like Neo that
bullet
shit.
Time,
bullet time. It's just gonna go this way. What the fuck is you talking about? Like I'm not listening to you.
Listen to me. That is such a thing that I live by. I do not listen to people who don't really know me. Because the people who don't really know me and don't care for me, I could give a fuck what they think. One of my favorite things is that when people on social media will make these assumptions about me and about who I am as a person.
Oh, yeah, that shit is bullshit.
Those are some of my favorite things to read. Like when I remember more recently, someone on TikTok said that I would look like I was a teenager. Oh. What is that young teenager girl? No, I was like, oh my God, I'm so flattered.
It's a compliment.
But listening to you talk about it, and being open to criticism and being accepting of hearing things that someone has to say about you and your character in areas where you might be incompetent, I think is key. But what I find so funny about this whole weaponized incompetence thing, I learned about this through social media. Mm-hmm. There's a woman on social media that she talks about it as like a learning tool. And then she refers to a book called Fair Play, where you can learn to have a better relationship with responsibilities and tasks in the house and how to like really communicate to your partner, which I think is great. Is a great way to use your platform to try to help educate people how they could live healthier relationships. Mm-hmm. But what I find crazy is the women and the men that are on social media putting their partners on blast, being like, look at this fucking incompetent person, my husband or my wife, they said that they were going to do this for me, but then I went to go take a shower and I came back and like I said before, he was asleep. How is that helping the situation?
It's really not. It's just, but I mean, it's,
honestly, Evo, in my opinion, that makes the person that is presenting that on social media, that makes them look stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
why are you not talking to your partner? It's easier for you to put them on blast and to have people see them as incompetent rather than have a conversation within your relationship.
But that's like a deep-rooted condition or deep-rooted issue within that person where they're obviously, this is the way that they deal with their frustrations, where they put it on blast.
Ooh, boy, that would fucking set me on fire.
And I'm guilty of that at one point in my life.
Okay, I was gonna say, wait, what?
At one point in my life, I was guilty of that. When issues arose in my relationship, I was not shy of publicizing it. You know, if I was in the street, you know, with my girlfriend at the time and we got into an argument or an issue, I didn't think twice about getting into it right then and there. You know?
Oh yeah,
you know
I remember
mean?
this about you.
Yeah, and so you know, you taught me how important it is to not do that, and how important it was to collect my thoughts and be in tune with what I was feeling and talk to you about those things and come to a resolution in private.
Yeah.
You know, but prior to you, you know, I can kind of see and understand why these people act because they don't know any better. I didn't know any better at that time. You know, I didn't know any other way to deal with my feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I grew up in a household too where
I was just about to say this.
Anger and things like that were addressed very vocally, you know, and loud, and so there was because there was no other way. It was all I knew. You
know. I was gonna say, I feel like when you say you don't know any better, I know firsthand why you say that. I know that you say that you were very I don't know, you were like a volcano. You were just like waiting to erupt.
Yeah, I used to refer to myself as a stick of dynamite that would light without even a match to contact. Like all you had to do was just light a match 50 feet away and the stick of dynamite would explode.
I think that I know. I recognize that about you very early on. I recognize that you were just like a like low burning fire, and when we would get into those type of situations, I could not be the fuel. I needed to be the thing that put you out.
Oh, I walked around with a can of nitrous. Like all you had to do is just show me the track, and I was just like, you know, and it was something that I had to learn how to control.
Yeah, I needed you to learn how to self-reflect.
Yeah.
And it took time. But I think what is so interesting about that whole dynamic, because I talked about it earlier, and I said how like I needed to learn how to let go of control. I helped you learn how to gain control. You taught me how to let go of control.
Yes.
And it's so interesting that like I learned that from you. I learned how to be a little bit more carefree and not to be so uptight about things in the house.
Yeah.
Because it was literally going to make me like explode as a person. It's interesting to me that these things come from our childhood. You watched a father be very volatile. I watched my parents be somewhat similar, because funny story, our fathers are very much alike when it comes to like that type of uproar. But because I came from that type of childhood, I taught myself to really be in control of my feelings and not really let anyone see what was really going on and like really deal with it in private. So then I carried that on to my relationships. And you, on the other hand, you were just like, you went to DR and you learned how to be more carefree. So then you were just like,
I learned how not to give a fuck.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, I was like complete opposite. I was like, all I do is give a fuck.
And so that's the beautiful thing about, you know, when two people come together and they bring each other balance, you know, because when it came to us, you know, you taught me how to care about the things that were actually important that I didn't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And I taught you how not to give a fuck about the things that you really shouldn't give a fuck about, because you cared about way too many things, way too much on such a microscopic level that I had to teach you, like, yo, you cannot give a fuck about that. And so I taught you how to loosen up a bit. You know, you taught me how to tighten up a bit.
Yeah.
And that gave us balance. You know, that's where we complemented each other, and you know, and that's where our strengths are. That
reminds me of a argument that is all over social media right now, which is men asking women, "What do you bring to the table?"
That's a good one.
Because what I brought to the table is not tangible.
No, it's definitely not.
That shit was all of my feeling and all of my lessons. I poured that into you. That's what I brought to the table, amongst a multitude of other things, and vice versa. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you ask, or you even consider to ask another person, what do you bring to the table? Are you fucking perfect? Are you carved out of goddamn stone that you think that anything that you have to offer this person, whether it be material, emotional, whatever it is, that is perfection?
You know what's funny? I just feel like that these people that speak this way, about, oh, what do you bring to the table?
Oh, God.
Have never been rocked to the core by somebody who's got nothing to bring to the table.
Fuck do you mean by that?
So listen to what I'm saying to you.
Please.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, right? All right, imagine. So when I say rock to the core, I mean when you meet someone and that person puts the brakes on everything that you're doing in your life. All of a sudden, nothing's important, and it's just the way that they look and who they are as a person. Totally changes the way that you see, changes the way that you act, changes the way that you feel. And that's what I mean by rock you to the core. I mean, they've penetrated you so deep just by who they are as a person and the way that they make you feel just by when you see them and they're in your presence, that there's nothing tangible about that.
Yeah. Zero.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like that these people...
That is energy, baby.
Exactly. So I'm saying that these people that say, or what are you bringing to the table, have never been rocked by somebody's presence like that,
because they're looking to assess someone based on like value that that is tangible.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's because they've never tasted the fruit of life. You know what I mean? They're still being starved of what real value is. You know what I mean? And so to them, value is is all you can bring. What are you showing me? What are you bringing to me? Right? Because they've never just been approached by somebody that has nothing that'll flip them upside down on their head. And I think that if they were to ever experience that, they would never ask that question ever again in their life.
Yo, fucking tell him, Evo.
Because I know I've had that experience, and I know that I don't give a shit what you bring to the table unless you're making me feel a certain way. All that other shit is secondary.
Let me tell you something. When I hear that question, I literally, the women that are answering it, some of them are coming back with some great answers, but then I see women like trying to argue with men. Mofo, I'm not arguing with you. If that is the question that you feel like you need to ask me, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Yeah. Those
are the type of men that I have avoided or stood clear of for a huge portion of my life. After having my 2 children previous to our relationship, I knew what I needed in my life. So anything that didn't fit that, I was like, see you later, my guy.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because, like, I guess certain people, when they reach a certain part of their life where they've acquired so much material and so much things of value, materialistic, monetary value, things of, those type of things, that it almost becomes like a little bit of a liability on the person that they partner with. So in those cases, it's like, all right, what are you bringing? Because, if we really go, all the way with this, and we marry, or, we become one, we go into this business thing that is called a marriage. People like to call it a business. At the end of the day, if it was all to fall apart, the only thing that is left to talk about are assets, And so in those cases, when those relationships don't work out, the person that brings the most to the table has the most to lose. So I can see why people like that. And in certain cases, they're really sizing up the person that they're with and like, what are you bringing to the table? Because at the end of the day, if that doesn't work out, if you came into this with nothing, then you're going to, now we're all looking at everything that I got. And now it's like, we got to split this down the middle. But again, that's a lot of that has to do with perspective, I think. And I think that there's people that even if they have it all and they meet someone that doesn't have anything, that at the end of the day, they're still looking for someone solid to be with. And if it didn't work out, they don't mind, they don't mind splitting whatever they have. It's because it was never about that to begin with.
I think one of the things that, like, as I'm listening to you, that I think about is when it comes to one of your partners potentially being purposely incompetent.
Purposely.
Like on purpose, they are being incompetent.
Okay.
I don't want to say that they're weaponizing it, but on purpose, they're acting like they can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the best way for you to express to that partner that you need for them to find a way to become competent? Because what I can tell you is, Evo, you and I have conversations a lot about these kind of things.
Yeah.
Things that you and I could do things better. And by no means are we perfect. I do think communication is key. And that is a forever evolving thing in our relationship, because we always find new ways to communicate. But in this particular situation, what do you think is the best way, or a way? Because I don't think there is the best way, because it may be, everything fits differently.
Yeah.
But what is a way that you feel like you could say to someone, if that's something that they're experiencing with their partner, that they could say to them, hey, I need for you to find a way to become competent?
It's not I don't think it's an easy conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that one way to go about it is, by telling, sitting down with the person and saying like, hey, listen, I know that, this thing that you just did, I know that you can do this better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that you put your best into this.
Mm-hmm.
And it would make me a lot happier. It would please me more, or whatever you want, the word you want to use, it will fulfill me better to know at least that you put your best into this. It doesn't have to be my perfection, my version of it,
Mm-hmm.
but as long as I know that you really put the effort into it, trust
Mm-hmm.
me, I will see it and I will be happy. But I feel like that in this situation, that effort was lacking.
Understood. I'm going to tell you, I agree with that. I'm going to tell you one of the first ways what I would have built into that. I would have asked them what prevented them. What prevented you from doing this to the best of your ability? Because if it's a situation where they actually execute, something very poorly, whether it be a task, whether it be childcare, whatever responsibility that they were given,
Mm-hmm.
and it is very apparent that they have executed it poorly, I would ask them what prevented them from doing it at the optimum level.
Yeah.
Because I think understanding what prevents them or what hinders them from doing that will give you a better understanding of how they could do it better. Because if you just tell someone,
getting down to the root of it,
because if you just tell someone, hey, I don't think that you did this to the best of your ability, and I need for you to do it better. If you don't even understand why they didn't do it good to begin with, how can you come up with a solution?
Yeah, how are you gonna fix it? Yeah, sure. No, I get that. I also think that it's important to realize that. Excuse me. It's important to realize that a lot of these situations too, the women, they kind of they kind of become like I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. They kind of become part of the problem, right? The way I worded that right now, I know it made your blood boil, right? And I did that on purpose.
Look at my face. But go ahead.
That was purposely. They become part of the problem because it's very easy for someone to lose patience
Mm-hmm.
with the person that's being incompetent,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately suggest, so you know what, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah,
Because-
I'm guilty of that.
Yes, exactly. And so, you're kind of doing a disservice to the person that's being incompetent and to the relationship in itself, because not only is there no effort being made to try to improve the situation, but then the issue is still always there
Mm-hmm.
with the person that is competent, and then it ends up being an internal issue that ends up growing over time. So, patience and dedication and consistency and open communication is important to try to help the relationship grow with the person that's incompetent, and helping them better understand what your needs are as a woman when it comes to your spouse. Because it's easier. It's very much easier. It's like raising kids.
No, I agree with you, Ibo. I just wonder if that there will be something that prevents a woman or a man from having these conversations. I always think about I always feel like these things are in an ideal world.
Yes, they are in an ideal world.
So I just wonder if a woman or a man is in this situation and maybe their partner on the other end of it is really not open to hearing anything that they have to say.
I don't doubt that one bit. But guess what? It has to start somewhere.
I agree.
It has to start. And anything that, listen to me, anything that is built from the ground up, it never starts off pretty. It's always ugly. It's always rough. Mm-hmm. It's always the worst version of itself.
Correct.
It's the beta. You know what I mean? But the beta has to be launched. And so to anyone that is in a situation like this, that hasn't attempted to make this communication with their spouse that is being incompetent, understand that if you're going to take the step to in a different direction where you're going to try to deal with these incompetent things, if you're going to take the steps to change these things that are incompetent about your spouse, understand that if you're going to be doing it for the first time, it's not going to be pretty. You have to build the verbiage. You have to establish the angles of communication that are going to be most subtle. You have to figure out, how to approach these situations. And that all takes trial and effort, trial and error.
Both.
Exactly. Both.
Trial and effort and trial and error.
And trial and effort. So, don't think that this is just a one shot, like, hey,
one size fits all.
One size fits all. No, you have to learn how to communicate these things to your partner. And that takes time to develop.
Yeah, because I think you and I can speak from experience in that there have been many times that we have tried to communicate and it has failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have to go back to the drawing board and then reevaluate how to approach something, because there's times where our feelings present prior to our logic.
Yeah. Listen, everything that's amazing in this world has been created through error, through failures, through destruction,
or accidental,
through accidents. And what you see as beauty, what you see as beautiful, is something that has evolved through many different versions. And then once the final product that you see, is not how that product started.
Oh yeah, well, that's evolution.
Exactly. So understand that if you're going to embark on this thing where you're going to try to change this dynamic that you have with your spouse, where one is incompetent, understand that it has to happen through a process of evolution. So I know you say that, yes, it's easier said than done.
Of course.
Okay, but speaking from experience, we went through the trenches.
And I feel like sometimes when I hear these inspirational things on social media, or I see it on TV or whatever it is, I'm always just yeah, that fucking sounds great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
but implement that into a situation that is fucked up.
Yeah.
And tell me how that shit's gonna work.
Yeah.
Because if you have a partner that you try to give these inspirational conversations to, and your partner's looking at you you know what you could do? You could go fucking kick rocks.
Yeah.
I think that you have to be able to say to the person that's attempting to salvage their relationship by reevaluating things, that they also have the ability to fucking walk away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that that's so important, because if you recognize that you are really putting in all of your effort into rehabilitating your relationship for a particular facet in your relationship, whether it be weaponized incompetence, maybe your spouse is really not putting their best foot forward when it comes to taking care of the children, doing things in the household, and you really put your time and your effort, and whatever that consists of, therapy, communication, reading books, to educate yourself how to do the job as best of your ability, and your partner is still not reciprocating.
Yeah.
Please understand that you need to have boundaries, and you need to say, I have really tried and I need to walk away.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes when people hear these things, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna try it, and then it doesn't work, and then they go right back to the way that they were, and then they're fucking in this vicious cycle. I want people to know that it's there's going to be times that you're going to have to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the beautiful thing, right? In this day and age where we have the beautiful, most wonderful thing in the world, which is, the internet, which is endless information, you have the ability to show your spouse, third party perspectives on what it is that you're trying to talk about. And it doesn't always have to be directly you pointing a finger, because sometimes it's hard to hear something about yourself coming from the person that you're with. It's very easy to get defensive when you hear it, but when you hear it from somebody else or from a different source, there's that realism that comes with it. Like, for example, if you were trying to address something to me about myself, I might look at you like, you're fucking tripping, like you're making this shit up. That's just you. You only feel that way. That's not really me. There's like an underlying issue where you're beefing with me. You got a problem with me and you're trying to make things difficult for me, right? There is that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so therefore, because
this is what I'm talking about.
Because I feel that way, I may be reluctant to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm seeing a video of like a doctor or a psychiatrist that's explaining this characteristic, this personality that exists within people, and it sounds like she's describing me, and this woman doesn't even know me, or this person doesn't even know me, it hits different. It hits a little bit different. And I think that because we have those abilities now, these conversations are a little bit more easier to have in this day and age, as to where before it may have been a lot harder.
I agree. I also do feel like that's a double-edged sword, though.
Yes, but
which sucks.
Because
with all of this information, you could also feel like it's. I think the best way, the way that I'm thinking about it is, you can always find an argument. You can always find information to support your argument. So I think that there was like a joke on social media of a guy that was like, I'm just gonna say something mad random, and he was just like, if I drink coffee, it could potentially make you blind. He was like, I bet you I could find something on the internet that supports my argument. And he looked it up, and lo and behold, there was an article that said drinking too much coffee can actually cause blindness. And he was like, see, this is the shit that I'm talking about. This type of thing can support my argument. So you have to be wary, because I feel like your partner could go out seeking information and find something that supports their argument, that you're coming at them in a way that they don't see fit, and it falls more on you.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a little different, because and I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but in the issue that you're in, the example that you gave, you're talking about consumption, right? You're talking about consuming something, right? So therefore, when you consume something, everybody's got something to say about how that affects you, how that affects the body, right? There's fucking thousands of experts on all sides of the spectrum that got different things to say about things that you consume. But in this particular situation, we're talking about oneself and a characteristic of oneself. Okay. And so when you brought this topic to my attention, because, ladies and gentlemen, Gina comes up with 99% of the topics that we talk about, right? And so, and I just, I give my input, and I go do my research, and I bring my supporting facts and stories and things like that, and we kind of bring it together and we do our show. So when you brought this topic to my attention, I was not familiar with the topic or the term, and you tried to describe it to me, and it really wasn't sinking in. And what'd you do? You sent me 3 videos.
And I was like, I think this will be better for you.
You sent me 3 videos, and I watched them, and I watched these people explain what weaponized incompetence was, and I was really able to understand it. And not only did I understand it, but I all of a sudden realized things about myself that I may have been incompetent about throughout our relationship, and I didn't even realize it, but it took that video. And again, a little credit to myself, I am very self-aware, and I'm willing to always self-reflect. So immediately when I was listening to this, I said, well, wait a minute, do I do this? And I was able to immediately reflect and and remember situations where I was being like that. But that's why I gave that example about, it may be easier nowadays to talk about those things, because
I agree.
There are so many other people that are voices, that will agree or support what it is that you're saying. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And I can say that when you watch the videos, we had a great conversation about it. Yeah. Because I was just like, okay, so if you feel like in these areas you've been incompetent, how do you think that you can change that behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And I gave you some examples, and I actually gave you 3, and I think the third one really struck you.
Yeah,
I think because the third one, I basically was just like, okay, so if you're not sure how that person wants something done, then ask them how they would like it done, and pay very close attention to how they're doing it.
Yeah. Well,
so that going forward, you will be able to execute it to that level if they're very particular about the things that they like. Because I think the example we used was buying flowers and putting them in a vase.
Right. So one of the videos that you showed me, the person was talking about being using weaponized incompetence is kind of like if you buy your spouse flowers, right, and you give them flowers, but yet that they have to cut the flowers, they have to unwrap them, they have to put them in a vase, and then they have to put the food in them. You're not really giving them a gift, you're giving them a task.
Yeah, you give them a gift with a task.
Yes, you're giving them a gift with a task. And and that's you being, the person that's doing that is being incompetent in a way where they're not realizing that when you give a gift, it's not for that person to have to do anything with it per se to complete it. It's given to them complete for them to enjoy. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, yeah, I've done that. Like I've come home with flowers. I'm like, here, babe, here you go. And it's so that, you pick out the vase that you like. And that was my idea. Like I was like, so you pick out the vase that you like, because I feel like if I would have picked out a vase, it may not be the one that you wanted, and that, you're going to change it anyway. And I would just rather you do it the way that you did. And then you're like, yeah, but still, like, that's, I'm having to deal with the task of doing it. And so I asked you, because in the past, I felt like that was the right decision to do because of other situations, but I was like, I asked you, I said, how am I supposed to know what vase, you want?
Yeah.
And you looked at me, you said, well, how about when you came home with the flowers, you just asked me, baby, what vase would you like this in? And I'm like, shit.
That's how easy it is.
You fucking got me with that one, And so, but now I know, and now I'm better because of that. And, and you best believe that you're never going to get flowers
well,
again.
Listen, in your defense, you buy me many flowers that come with a vase.
Yeah, I usually get them complete with the vase. But like, I don't know. All right, so the times that time that I do it is when I'm randomly out and I just bring you random flowers for no reason.
Which is evil. I'm not even looking at that as you being competent at all, because I can be very particular about things, and we talked about this. But I think it was a great conversation because I just gave you such a simplistic answer of how you can find solution to something like that. And that's what I'm talking about, the communication. But you are also very open to that.
Here's the wonderful thing, right? So after we had that conversation, I thought about it, right? And I said, damn, that would have made that gift so much better.
Yeah.
If I just asked her, what vase you want this in? And I would have put the water in it, and I would have cut it myself, and I would have put the food in it, and I would have just set it on the table without you having to do anything about it. I was like, and I didn't realize how much better that would have made that gift.
Yeah.
And because we had that conversation, now I know, and I've learned how to make that experience all the much more better.
I think as a whole, now that any gift you give me, there should not be any work involved in it unless it's a fucking puzzle or it's something that I'm actually have to like put some work into it to like enjoy it. Yeah. But if it's like, if it's meant to be a gift that I'm supposed to enjoy, there should be no work in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not to say that I've ever complained.
No.
In the past. But
You've never brought it up. I came to my own realization on it when I saw the video, because it was it was just ironic that you sent me 3 examples and one of them had that example in it. Actually, the person that was speaking about had many examples, and that was one example in the many that struck me, and I was like, oh shit, I've done that,
Because I think some of the other examples were like, if you giving your spouse breakfast in bed, they should not have to wash the dishes, they should not have to clean up. If you're taking your spouse out for dinner, they should not have to get the children ready. They should not have to find a babysitter. If you were making this gift, if it's a gift to them that they're supposed to enjoy with no responsibility, there should be no responsibility on their part. Anyway, with that being said, I just kind of feel like communication is key. And if you feel like you were really trying to communicate to your partner, if you're really trying to give them information that is valuable to the thing that you were trying to help in your relationship, and maybe you're getting some pushback on it, what I can recommend is this book that I learned from the person on social media, which is called Fair Play. And this book teaches you and your partner, because you're both supposed to read it, teaches you and your partner how to divvy up responsibilities in the household, how to assign tasks, You know, like, for example, if the partner is potentially maybe better at it just naturally, how you can divvy up these things where these things are done, where there's not a stress put on one partner.
Yeah.
That they feel like they have to do more. In addition to that, the book helps you learn how to have good conversation starters.
Yeah.
How to really approach these situations, because I feel like sometimes when we talk about it, it sounds real fucking easy, and then you try to go like, you ever like about to have an argument with your partner, and then you're like, you're fucking stuck.
Yeah.
And in your mind you had all these thoughts, and there's actually been times where you and I have had disagreements where I've written stuff down because I know that in the heat of the moment I lose track. So this book will help you learn how to like start a conversation and kind of hold your ground in that conversation. So I think it's an amazing tool where you and your partner can both read the book if you feel like the efforts that you have applied are really not working for you. So I kind of wanted to end with that. And I don't know if you loved how I segue from Christmas to this shit. Because I just want everyone at home to know that, like, if during the holidays, you should really be enjoying yourself. It's about what we spoke about at the beginning of the of the show, which is having great food, having great drinks, having great family time. You should not have to be dealing with, oh, you know, my husband is doing less, I'm doing more. Who's going to watch the kids? Who's going to clean? Who's going to drive here? Who's going to wrap this? It should just be like, babe, how are we doing this? Like, what is this all about? And how can we do this collectively, you know? And the conversation should come from both ends. It shouldn't just be the man always looking for the women to guide him, because I also don't want to be your manager.
Well, you know what though? Listen, just here's a helpful hint to ladies out there and women. You know, something's got to change with the fact that, you know, women have been conditioned to accept and give a pass to the man that is goofy, silly, funny, and gives good banter. You know, there's a lot of power that a man has in showing a woman a good time and making her laugh and smile a lot, you know, and women will let a lot slide. You know what I'm saying?
As I said, what's the trade-off?
They will let a lot slide for a smile and a good time, you know, and if a man can provide that to them, you know, they will, you know, overlook a lot of things, you know, because that really hits them deep, you know. Girls love to have fun, right? Women love to have fun.
Yeah, but after 10 years and a couple kids, that should get old real quick. But
just be careful with that, because a lot of men get in there through that door. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit! Fucking sliding in the back.
Yeah. And it doesn't also help that, you know, these types of characters are also they're like built into our heads with TV and media, you know, with with TV shows, you know, like, these are characters that are like portrayed, and, you know, they're fed to you, you know, you're conditioned to think that these things are like how life is, you know. So, you know, that's another problem that needs to stop as well.
Well, I just want people to enjoy their holiday.
Definitely.
I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, whatever it is.
Get yourself some Coquito.
Right? Even if you're not Latino, Coquito hit, okay?
Yeah, and if you want the recipe, hit us up on social. I'll send it to you.
But actually, with that being said, that actually brings us to the end of our show tonight. I hope everybody has an amazing holiday. I hope you have time with friends and family. You get to eat some great food. You have, you know, some fun gift giving, or however it is that you choose to celebrate your holiday. I wish everyone the best. And with that being said, until our next show, next Friday.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Peace out.
Peace out.